A semantic role is the underlying relationship that a participant has with the main verb in the clause. It is also known as thematic role, theater role, or semantic case. The semantic roles played by the participants in a clause are agent, patient, beneficiary, causer, experiencer, source, goal, instrument, locative, manner, measure, path, time, comitative. Before we proceed in the discussion of semantic roles, I would like to draw your attention to an important thought, which is that we should not confuse grammatical relations, syntactic categories such as subject, object, etc., with semantic roles, because they do not directly correspond to each other. Semantic roles do not directly correspond to grammatical relations. For example, if we say Bob broke the window, in this sentence, Bob is the grammatical subject, is the syntactic subject of the sentence, and the window is the grammatical object. However, semantically, Bob is an agent. He is the doer of the action. And the window is the patient, the entity that got affected by the action of breaking. Therefore, we should not confuse grammatical or syntactic relations with semantic roles. Another example to explain the relationship between grammatical relations and semantic roles is the following example. The window was broken by Bob. Now this sentence is the passive form of the previous sentence, Bob broke the window. Now, the window in this sentence is the subject of the sentence, and Bob is the object of the preposition by. And the window is still the patient, still the entity that got affected by the action of breaking, and Bob is still the agent who did the action of breaking. Let us consider the subjects in the following examples and see how many semantic roles a subject can play. In the 4 sentences given below, the linguistic expressions marked in red are the grammatical subjects of these sentences. However, they play different semantic roles in each sentence. Now, in the first sentence, Bob is the agent, or plays the semantic role, or has the semantic role of an agent. Why? Because Bob carried out the action of the opening. In the second sentence, the key has the semantic role of a causer. It is not an agent because it did not directly carry out the opening. Someone made it open the door. Now, in the third and fourth sentences, the door here is the patient because in both sentences, it was affected by the action of opening. Now, in the third sentence, we do not know who opened the door. However, in the fourth sentence, we know that Bob is the one who carried out the action of opening. The first semantic role is agent. An agent is the instigator of the action denoted by the predicate, or it is the entity that performs or does the action or event. An agent is the semantic role of an entity that is the doer of the action or the event. For example, the boy hit the ball. The argument in this sentence, which is in red, the boy, is the agent. In the second sentence, the cat is the agent because it did the action of chasing. Now, in the third sentence, David ate an apple. David is an agent because he is the entity that performed the action of eating. Tayma carried the box. Tayma again is the agent because she is the entity that did the action. Again, all the arguments in red play the semantic role of an agent. The second semantic role is patient. This semantic role is also known as theme, undergoer, affected, recipient. A patient is the entity that undergoes a change of state or location, or which is possessed, acquired, or exchanged, or the entity that gets affected by an event. All the arguments marked in red in these sentences play the semantic role of a patient. Causer is another semantic role played by the participants or the arguments in a sentence. A causer is a referent which instigates an event or an action rather than actually doing it, which means that the causer does not do the action or does not carry out the action by itself. It is caused by another entity to carry out the action. For example, the rain destroyed the crops. Here the rain is a causer. It is not an agent because someone caused the rain to destroy the crops. Again, in sentence number 2, John made Susan do the work. Now, John is a causer. He caused Susan to do the work. The actual doer of the work is Susan. In the third sentence, the policeman had the driver stop the car, which means that the policeman caused the driver to stop the car. The actual doer of stopping the car is the driver, not the policeman. Another semantic role is beneficiary, which is a referent which is advantaged or disadvantaged by an event. For example, Mu'min helped his friend buy a car, and Heba assisted Jack. Here, friend in the first sentence and Jack in the second sentence are beneficiaries. They received the help from some other entity. Another semantic role played by the arguments is experiencer. An experiencer is an entity that receives, accepts, experiences, or undergoes the effect of an action, event, denoted by the predicate. You notice in the following examples the linguistic expressions in red. All of these expressions are experiencers. They play the role of an experiencer. Now, for example, Suhad and Bill and everyone and I and Muhammad, all of them have the semantic role of an experiencer. In the first sentence, Suhad saw a bird. Suhad is an experiencer. Therefore, she experienced the seeing of the bird. So she's affected by it. In the second one, Bill smelled the food. Bill is an experiencer in that he experienced the smelling of the food and he is influenced by the smell. Therefore, we may say, or he may say that what a nice smell, or what a bad smell, or I'm hungry. In the third sentence, the explosion was heard by everyone. Everyone in this sentence is an experiencer. Everyone experienced the hearing of the explosion. So therefore, they are either scared, frightened, or hurt by the sound of that explosion. Again, I was scared. I is an experiencer because he experienced something scary, and that's why he is scared. A source denotes the place of origin, location from which an entity moves. It is the location, it is the place from which an entity moves. For example, David fell off the chair, the baby came from the living room, and the man picked up the box from the car. Ahmed bought the book from Khalid. Iman took some money from her father. We can notice here that the linguistic expressions, the arguments in red, are all playing the semantic role of a source from which an entity moves. For example, when I say David fell off the chair, David was originally sitting on the table and he fell off the chair. I'm sorry, he fell off that chair. So the source, his original location was the chair. So he fell off the chair. Now when I say the baby came from the living room is the source from which the baby moves, from which the baby came. Originally the baby came from the living room. He was in the living room and he moved from the living room to another location. Now in the last example, Iman took some money from her father. Her father, which is the argument, plays the semantic role of the source because the money came from him. Unlike the source, which denotes the location from which an entity moves, a goal denotes the place of origin or location to which an entity moves. For example, when I say Iman gave some money to her father, the goal is the argument, her father, and the source in this sentence is Iman. So the money moved from Iman to her father. In the second sentence, Jane swam to the shore. Jane was not originally in or at the shore, but she swam to it. Her goal was to swim to the shore. Now Yasmin moved from Irbid to Amman. Irbid in this sentence is the source and Amman is the goal. Instrument is a semantic role which expresses the medium by which an action denoted by the predicate is carried out. Instrument is usually an animate thing an agent uses to implement an action. Now, the agent usually uses something to carry out the action. For example, Qasim kicked the ball with his foot. His foot here is one of the arguments in this sentence which plays the role of an instrument. Then Qasim used his foot to kick the ball. In the second sentence, she opened the can with a can opener. A can opener has a semantic role of an instrument. David locked the door with the key. The key was used by David to lock the door. So the key here is an instrument. Locative is the place where or location where the action or event denoted by the predicate is carried out. For example, the boy put the doll on the table. The book is on the shelf. The ship sank at sea. My jacket is in the closet. All the linguistic elements in red play the role of locative or location. So they all show the location in which something can be found. Path is another semantic role that describes movement. For example, say the baby crawled across the room. It shows the path where the baby crawled. The postman walked along the field, and also along the field is a path which the postman took. Measure is a semantic role that shows the quantification of an event. For example, you say this coat costs 75 JD, or I drove 55 miles. Manner is another semantic role that shows how the action or the event or process was carried out or is carried out. For example, the lady walked slowly. It shows how the lady walked. The man was singing. It also shows the manner in which the man was singing. And Maria did the job successfully. It shows how the job was done. Time is also a semantic role showing the temporal placement of an action or an event. The time in which an event or an action takes place or took place. For example, the baby woke up at noon. It shows the time or the temporal placement at which the baby woke up. I will meet him at 7 p.m. It also shows the time at which the event will take place. Comitative is a semantic role that refers to another entity that does an action or an event with the agent. For example, Zamzam did her homework with Rama. It shows that Zamzam did not do the homework by herself, but with the help of Rama. Again, the second sentence, I dug a hole with the help of my brother. My brother here plays the role of a commutative because he shared the action with me.